transition real quick. We'll come back to this because we do have some breaking news. Now, you guys know that we don't like to tell you I told you so on the show. Right? Like we don't like to tell people. And Pac-12 supporters lost their minds when I said, well, hey, the only thing left is for the new members and all of the new Pac-12 members to sign their grant of rights and create a conference because they don't even have a new conference, right?
Pac-10.
And we felt like that would happen over the weekend. We were wrong about that. I think I said last Tuesday or Wednesday, hey, I've been told it's going to happen this weekend. I was wrong about that. Ross Dellinger's reporting it happened today. That the newest members of the Pac-12, along with Washington State and Oregon State, have signed their membership agreements and have signed their grant of rights. And just texting with a TV person, it is expected that a deal very similar to the one that was christened recently by the Pac-12 will take shape, and the Pac-12 should be able to announce a TV deal this week. Industry sources have told me that the Pac-12 could announce a new media rights distribution deal as soon as this week. Now, we'll see how that plays out. That feels aggressive to me. I would assume that you are going to add another university before you announce that TV deal. Because remember, and I think this is really important so that Pac-12 fans don't lose their mind, you have to get one more full-time member, who plays football. Texas State and its massive traveling ticket sales operation.
Yes.
If that's Texas State, great. That's a huge win for the Pac-12. It almost doesn't matter who it is as long as they get one more full-time member that plays football. That's, in my mind, that's the next step. And then once that agreement is announced, then I think you can announce a media rights deal. And I think it feels like this is going to come together very quickly now that the House settlement is done. Because I think that was a major roadblock in, hey, A plus B equals this is how much money we're going to take home every year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you are operating at the Pac-12's level, the Mountain West level, the Americans level, you have to know penny for penny, not dollar for dollar. You've got to know every penny and every decimal point of how much money you're taking home. And this is the first in a line of a bunch of good news that should be coming out for the Pac-12. This should be a week of really good headlines for the Pac-12 conference. If you are a Pac-12 fan, this is the beginning of a run of good news for you. And I think when you look at mediation, I would expect to get a mediation update in the next several days as well. A source close to that situation told me that there's not a lot of heat or vitriol at the table. They're just trying to hammer out the finances of getting this settlement done. And I think that this is a big move forward for the Pac-12. I think it's a big move forward for the mediation process because you have it signed, sealed, and delivered, which was always, again, I keep using the word, but a fait accompli. Like this was always going to happen. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But Ross Dellinger, Yahoo Sports, kind of confirming what we reported last week, that we expected a membership and a grant of rights deal in the new conference to be signed over the weekend, because this essentially creates the new Pac-12. I don't know how many people realize that. Yes, the Mountain West members, the Gonzaga, left their conferences, but to do what? They hadn't joined anything. The membership agreements form the conference, the grant of rights, which is a separate document, right? Because the membership agreement is one document. You assigning your home media rights to the Pac-12 to go and leverage in the marketplace is a separate document. You had to get the membership agreement in place, sign the grant of rights, add another member. I would expect in the next, I would think 10 days, you're going to have a new member and you should have a TV deal. I would expect that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it'll be curious to see, all jokes aside,
What do the JD Wickers come out and comment? What do the Jeremiah Dickies of the world come out and comment? Like, it'll be really curious to see, what the outlets in the Pac-12 or the newly formed Pac-12, come out and say, because I think one of the biggest things, and I'm just going to keep saying it, like, I don't feel like the Pac-12 has done an amazing job or a great job at controlling the narrative around what's happening. I think that, it's difficult for people, to control JD Wicker. I think he's just shown to be, respectfully, a bit of a loose cannon with what he says. And so I don't hold that against Teresa Gould or Pac-12 leadership, but I think at some point you got to come out on video and talk about like where you're at with things and what, like, obviously we expected you to get a media rights deal done. We expected the members to sign. We expected these natural steps to take place because they're natural steps in your process. Like, so this, once again, is not surprising. But my question is, once this gets done, what then is the next thing? Because I still think that once you have these steps done, you still have to go out and now execute on the finances of the conference. I mean, you still have to figure out, obviously mediation is still occurring. We still have to figure out what comes of that. What kind of discount did you get, or what terms did you negotiate? Because I feel like, and you've been saying this, you said this a lot last week, like they've kept it pretty quiet. There haven't been leaks on it. There haven't been any type of reporting on it. So they're keeping it pretty sealed. So the question is, what kind of discounts do you get from that? And how do those discounts affect the conference moving forward?
Yeah.
Because we know for damn sure that this conference will be definitely participating in unequal revenue sharing inside of the conference.
Certainly.
So that's my question is, what did you promise Boise State? What did you promise Gonzaga? And what did you promise San Diego State? Those three schools inside of this conference, those three being happy, in my opinion, is what will allow this conference to, from a business standpoint and a political standpoint, do well. If those three are happy, your conference should be fine. Now it just comes down to winning. And it comes down to being in the postseason, getting your shares, and, some way, somehow, getting back to, and I don't know how this is possible or if it even is possible given everything that's going on, but trying to get back to power status, having an AQ, which I don't think is going to happen. But
I don't think that will happen.
But I think that's kind of, I have to imagine, again, I'm just speculating, but I have to imagine that leadership in the Pac-12, has talked about that with all its members, that would be their goal at some point.
Yeah. And I just don't think that is a conference initiative. I think it has to be an individual university initiative, because I don't again, and maybe this goes back to Boise State, but what are you going to say if you're Wyoming, if you are any of the smallest G5 universities? How do you make a case to your leadership, to your donors, to your boosters, not in the sports programs, at the university level, the educational money, the people who fund your ability to educate, that you are going to spend $20.5 million every year paying your athletes at places like Wyoming? I just don't know how you do that at North Dakota State. I don't know how you do that at Fresno State, which is a state school that struggles financially. I don't know how you do that if you are San Jose State, right? It's very difficult if you are Oregon State and Washington State to cough up $20.5 million every year to pay athletes. How do you think it is for North Dakota and North Dakota State? How do you think it is for these smaller entities? And I understand that fans of the Mountain West and fans of the Pac-12 get pissed at this show on a daily basis every time we talk about this.
Right.
But I will continue to tell you, you can't afford to compete. That's it. That's full stop. You can't afford to compete. So unequal revenue sharing, I'm telling you, and we've talked about this how many times?
Many times.
When we look at this TV deal, Look at the new Pac-12 TV deal I've been telling you about for weeks and weeks. It is going to be a large proportion of it will be streamed. I don't think there's any question. My sources continue to tell me that it's going to be multiple TV and broadcast platforms. It is probably going to be, I have heard as many as 5, but a minimum of 3. Between 3 and 5 partners. And I think that is clearly CW. I think ESPN television. I think ESPN direct to consumer. ESPN, which is the name of their new entity that is broadcasting direct or delivering direct to consumer. That's 3 right there. Let's say CBS is 4. And then if you have a Amazon Prime, if you have another partner, I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that between 3 and 5 broadcast partners are going to partake in a Pac-12 deal. And I don't have any doubt in my mind that the Pac-12, for 99% of their games, is going to wind up covering the production cost of that. And you are going to have to make sure that you can take that revenue, put it into a pot, and distribute it to a level unequally where Boise State's going to be able to pay their athletes $20.5 million a year.
Good luck.
And that is going to be very difficult to do. And so when you see this story today, where you have Boise State actively considering bringing private equity into the Broncos athletic department. What do you mean you're actively considering it? You're doing it. You have no choice but to do it.
Yeah, and I just don't feel like that sets the right tone for like the mission of the university or of the, the athletic department. Like actively considering
That's
tells
tough.
me you're like hemming and hawing, you're viewing the pros, the cons, you're trying to understand if it's something you actually want to do or if maybe it's not a fit for your athletic department.
Because I think if you're Boise State, contrast the conversation in Boise to pick your universe, Columbus, with Ohio State, Notre Dame, Alabama, Georgia, pick your poison. How much leverage does Ohio State have? Wait, let me rephrase that. How much more leverage does Ohio State have in a private equity conversation than Boise does in a private equity conversation? It's massive.
A lot.
It's massive. The chasm between the two, the canyon between the two ends of the spectrum where the G5 play and the P4 play, it is huge. And I'll even go for enough to say, look at the bottom of the P4s and then look at the top of the P4s and you try to measure that gap. It's massive, dude. And you start looking at these stories, Front Office Sports, I think, had it. A bunch of people had it, that there's multiple private equity deals that are already done that are going to be announced. Texas and who else? Because I've heard
you already know.
Because I've heard that the University of Texas Austin is got a massive private equity deal that is already in place, and they are going to go all in on making sure that they have all the money they need to continuing not only to support their athletes, but to make sure that their athletes thrive across the board in every sport. Can you say that same thing at the very upper echelons, the top of the G5?
No.
It's impossible.
Well, and I think the difference is like the upper echelon of the G5 is like, what, 2 schools? 3 schools?
Yeah, I mean, I
like,
look at the American. How many schools in the American can afford $20.5 million a year?
Yeah, I mean, we looked at this.
Army?
Yeah.
Tulane, Memphis, Navy, East Carolina, South Florida, UTSA. Can they? Probably not. So
Do
can
they
Tulsa?
Want to?
Can Tulsa, who just lost the #1 portal wide receiver, who was going to go to Utah and is now going to Colorado, I know Prime can't recruit and doesn't ever
Well,
portal
he's
well.
terrible. Yeah, he's off.
But
Come on.
Tulsa losing arguably the best wide receiver to Colorado, who's never going to struggle financially. Can Tulsa compete?
No.
Can Tulsa compete across the board? Are there women's sports? Are there track and field and Olympic sports going to thrive?
No.
And the answer is I highly doubt that. I highly doubt that. And I don't even know how would that be a thing that they would be able to thrive and compete? And the answer is I don't think they can. So we can sit here and we can have the conversation about what are the smallest schools in the ACC? Who are the smallest schools in the ACC? I would think the Boston colleges of the world are going to have trouble. I would think that people like Stanford, who have the money, there's no question they have the endowment. But is there a want to compete at the highest levels financially in college sports?
Well, look at SMU's situation, right? If we set their size aside and look at the money situation, the agreement that they're in with the ACC,
how much money they're not getting paid.
Like that now becomes of massive importance to you if you're SMU, because now you got to figure out how to make up the discrepancy of no TV money plus 20.5 mil.
I don't know how you do that.
Bro, I understand that there's deep pockets and oil money, but bro, that's a lot of money to be spending on college football.
And then I go and I look at Oak State. I look at Oklahoma State. You cut your coach's compensation because you said you couldn't afford NIL. And we're supposed to believe that you're going to pay $20.5 million and put all the money in that you need to put in to compete in sports. And I just don't know how you do that. I know Brett Yormark will do that. I look at the University of Arizona, who lost all of that money coming out of COVID. Remember, what was it, $240 million they misplaced?
Misplaced a decimal, you know?
And you're telling me we're supposed to believe that Arizona will do financially what needs to be done to compete the highest level of athletics?
Just don't buy it, man.
So it's a scary time, and I'm curious. How much does the Pac-12's TV deal need to the Pac-12 is going to fall behind?
Mm-hmm.
What does that really mean? You're forming a new conference, and it is going to take a windfall of cash for the Boise States of the world to continue to compete. How much does that TV deal need to be? I think it's as much as humanly possible. And the net is what's really important. How much money are you going to be able to distribute to each university in your conference? I think that is a really, really, really important question.
Look at this tweet, and I just think it speaks to our conversation from Brandon Marcello, CBS Sports.
Yep.
Texas Tech says its fundraising arm, the Red Raider Club, will be responsible for generating $14 million annually to help fund its $20.5 million revenue sharing model. Like, I just bring that up to put in perspective, like, people have been taking action. Like, it's not just Ohio State and Texas, man.
That's right.
Like, and again, I'm not trying to shade Texas Tech at all, but Texas Tech is in a very interesting situation, meaning this year there's a ton of expectations on the football program, obviously, as we've talked so much about. But within that, you've got all this planning and effort and energy and mental capacity being put into how are we going to afford the $20.5 million? Because notice it's not, well, yeah, we're going to think about it. Yeah, we're actively considering whether we're going to participate. No, dude, they've decided probably, 6 months ago, a year ago, like a while ago now.
A while ago.
Like that they were going to do this and that they needed a collective and that collective needed to be responsible. Like, I'm telling you,
Boys.
This is a classic scenario in life. Hey, something's coming down the pipe. What are you doing about it?
I was just going to say, apply what's going on here to your life, because one other thing before we get to your comments. Brandon Marcello also made an excellent point. What did all the commissioners on this call this morning say? This video conference. We want legislation to codify the terms of this settlement, the House settlement. They're really worried that they're going to continue to get sued because they're continuing to get sued. And I think you look at this story, and this is one where I really want you guys to comment on this. Greg Sankey is going to play golf with Donald Trump. And I am curious if you guys think that Donald Trump needs to step in and do something here. Because Greg Sankey is not having conversations about, hey, Donnie, what'd you measure this pin at? You got 147? That thing got slope on it? I don't think that's what they're talking about. I think they're talking about what the government can do to create an antitrust environment where college football can thrive and make as much money as possible. I think that's the entire point of playing golf with Donald Trump is to make sure he wins. But secondarily,
he'll make sure he wins.
Thank you. Secondarily, there's no point. The only reason Greg Sankey's going to play golf with Donald Trump is to make sure that his college football, because what did he say this morning? And I don't know that anybody pays attention to this stuff because I'm probably insane and psychotic, and that's fine. Did you guys notice that Greg Sankey called college football uniquely American? Does anybody understand what that reference meant this morning? That was a reference to the 1918, 1920, when Major League Baseball was trying to figure out how to thrive and survive. And it was trying to become America's pastime. And it used that same language. And what happened? Government stepped in and created an entity for it. And I think that's what's going to happen with college football. And I do believe that we will have a commissioner of college football. And I do believe it will be Nick Saban or Greg Sankey, or I do believe that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I don't think there is any question that Donald Trump is going to, in my opinion, federalize college athletics the way that they have the NFL, Major League Baseball, the NBA, the NHL, MLS. I think it's going to be federalized. And if we're being honest, I think it needs to be federalized. I think it needs to be protected, because as much, and this might sound moronic, but as much positive is going to come out of this House settlement, there is going to be real, long-lasting, permanent, painful damage done to college athletics. To whom and how and when, I don't know. But there are going to be programs that disappear. There are going to be universities who don't have track and field or diving or swimming. I can tell you a personal friend of mine who was a swim coach at a very high level isn't a swim coach anymore because they don't have a swim program anymore. And that's not accidental. And you're seeing that, whether you realize it or not, across the country. There are swimmers and runners and rowers and bobsledders and skiers and tennis players and golfers who no longer have a school and who no longer have a scholarship. And I think you need to federalize college sports, if only to make it so that football has a never-ending supply of cash.
Yeah.
To make sure that these universities pay for those low-level sports. You think Donald Trump is going to watch his grandchildren who are all in the pipeline for golf? He's got a granddaughter. Donnie Jr.'s daughter is like a legitimate golfer. Golf is one of the sports at the mid to lower level that is going to disappear. Because I think you're going to see, my belief is, in talking to college administrators. My belief is college football, basketball, and stick and ball sports are very secure. Soccer is very secure. I think anything else, I think if you're a lacrosse player, better find a different sport, because I think it's going to be very difficult to have lacrosse.
And most of those dudes play other sports.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing.
I think it's going to be very difficult to have lacrosse be a fully funded sport. I think you're going to watch water polo turn into a club sport. And that is terrifying if you're a water polo player, because it is really expensive to put yourself in a position where you just can't, and I don't even know how to say, it's really difficult to put yourself in a position where you can't fund the chess team anymore. Well, that happened already. That's why chess is a club activity.
Yes. Yes.
That's where we're going. That's where we're going. And everybody thinks like, oh, volleyball is untouchable. No, it's not. No, it is not. There are already schools who can't afford to partake in football. You look at, and this was brought up to me over the weekend by a TV guy who said, do you think the Ivy League will play football anymore? And my honest answer was, I don't think so. I don't know how they can afford it. With what's going on at places like Harvard and Yale and academically, and the money that is being shredded from their budgets, dude, you're going to watch a significant part of this change. I'm telling you. You are going to watch a significant part of it change. All right. Let's get to the comment section. Thank you for listening to 50 minutes of my soliloquy as I go.
Yeah.
I think this is, you guys, not to belabor my point, I think this is one of the most critical moments in the history of all sports in this country.
This is fucking America.
I'm telling you, he's not wrong. This is America. And I think you're watching America change. Of everything that's, Jesus, of all the things changing in this country.
Yes, Americans.
It is shocking. It is shocking. The things that are happening on our television sets. It is shocking the change that we are seeing in college athletics and what's going on in Los Angeles, what's going on in,
like, for instance,
all different corners of this country and around this world. College sports is vastly insignificant. Like, it just doesn't matter on a lot of levels. But when you look at how many people use college athletics as a vessel to education, you look at what's going on at historically black colleges in this country, and you look at the fact that a lot of kids are only getting an education and digging out of generational poverty through college athletics, bro, this is a hugely important time. This is a hugely important event. And the history that is being made, man, I don't think we've even begun to just scratch the surface of the history that's going to be made. That's how seismic this is.
It's a huge deal.
And I'm really curious. We have over 1,000 people watching the show right now. Everybody on YouTube, please hit the like button. If you're listening on our audio podcast, hello to everybody on Apple, Spotify, everywhere. Our audio podcast is exploding right now, and I really appreciate everybody who's gone to Apple, and we're doing great numbers there. X, hello to everybody on Twitter X. Thank you for watching. Please come over to YouTube. Please subscribe to our channel. Please give us a thumbs up. Let's keep the conversations rolling on the Monty Show. Our official daily fantasy partner, Prize Picks. Your boys on a 6-game heater on Prize Picks. Thank you, Tyrese Halliburton, for being a complete failure and waste of space in the NBA Finals. Thanks to Tyrese, 2 games in a row. Tyrese, some idiot put Tyrese Halliburton's points, rebounds, and assist number at 39.5. Yeah, right. Tyrese Halliburton, who had
So-called experts.
5 points going to the fourth quarter. Jake, is he your guy, Tyrese Halliburton, your favorite player of all time? The guy you said was better than Michael Jordan has ever been.
I want the best people.
Right? You said he was better than Michael Jordan ever was.
Right.
How do you feel about Tyrese Halliburton now, man?
Hey, he's not off to a good start, that's for sure.
What? But I mean, he's the Michael Jordan, right? Like he's everything you've
Right.
ever wanted.
Right.
So I
When is
appreciate.
parade?
Yeah, there's no parade.
When is parade?
None. There isn't. You can
I
go
need
back.
to go home.
You can go home. You look at last night, and again, let me just. I don't know how much more I can evangelize for Alex Caruso.
Shut the fuck up.
I know you're tired of hearing it, but how many times have I told you? I'm not going to shut up because Alex Caruso's a goddamn stud.
I get that.
Last night, Alex Caruso on a 13-point and rebound number, combined points and rebounds last night. And I don't know how to put my greatness out there any more than to say he had 20 points and 3 rebounds. And thank God the guy scores points because he didn't rebound a lick last night. But it still won because it went 3 for 3 because SGA.
Fucking A.
You want to compare, guy? I'm telling you, that is the most Kobe Jordan guy I've seen in a long time. He did some stuff yesterday that was eerily similar to Michael Jordan's hanging jump shot. We've used the SGA Kobe Bryant comparison in the past. I think it's dead accurate. I think it's dead. I saw it on Twitter like a month ago.
Yeah, the only thing he doesn't have that those two had was the explosiveness at the rim. But other than that, everything pretty much is
the layups, the two, and it's eerie the step throughs that he does. There's two things he does that reminds me of Jordan and Kobe. The hanging, I'm about to hit the floor, let me then release it, jumper like Jordan had. SGA's got it. The step throughs out of the, he'll be backing a guy down. He will fake and then step through for a layup. I mean, it is almost, if you didn't know that wasn't Kobe, you would think that was Kobe.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. Crazy. So Chaboy, I just want you to know, since Friday on Prize Picks, thanks to the Chicago Cubs' greatness and sitting out yesterday's Cubs game, I have knocked down $220 in 3 days on Prize Picks. We're back, baby. We're back.
That's right.
Download the Prize Picks app. Use the promo code Monty because we got McDeasy on the ice tonight. Oilers are going to take the lead. Probably not. Download the Prize Picks app. Use the promo code Monty. You deposit $5. They'll give you 50 more instantly. It is the single best daily fantasy promotion I have ever seen. Do it right now. Download the Prize Picks app. Use the promo code Monty. You deposit $5. They'll give you 50 more. Don't you have? Well, before the show's over, we'll get back to Connor McDavid because we got to do NHL Prize Picks tonight. I know. It's crazy. Angel Reese. I won on Angel Reese the other night.
Yeah.
On fire. I'm seeing it like it already happened.
Angel Reese more or less than 1.5 in the first quarter.
Don't you guys love it when gambling degenerates are like, I'm seeing it, Ma!
I think I've hit it every time.
They always say, I'm seeing it like it already happened.
Bruh.
You're not, actually. That's why you're a gambling degenerate.